Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Institute of Child Psychology's YouTube channel. My name is Tammy Shamoon, and I am the co founder of the Institute and a registered child psychologist. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about what to say to a child who's really anxious. What are the magic words? And what gets in the way that these words don't land? Like it feels like no matter what you say, that child just doesn't seem to receive the message from you. So, we're going to talk about the really important words, of course, but also what has to happen before the words for this to work, and about what is going on inside of you as a parent when your child's being anxious, which is going to impact the ability for the child to absorb your words as what we call a co-regulator. Okay, so I think if you've got an anxious kiddo, you know they're anxious, right? This is not the first time this has come up. And many children struggle with anxiety. Okay, many adults struggle with anxiety. We live in a pretty chaotic world. All right. So we have to lay some groundwork here first. So before we jump to what is the right thing to say, we have to think about what kind of prep has gone into this so the child's ready to receive your message. One of the first things we want our children to know is that anxiety is normal, that it is all about keeping our bodies safe. Now, if you have an older child, you might talk about it in terms of survival. It's what's kept us alive for hundreds and thousands of years. We have anxiety, so we look twice before crossing a street. We have anxiety, so if we see a strange plant, like when we were living outdoors, we didn't get poisoned. Anxiety is what makes us pause before taking maybe the wrong path in the woods so we don't get lost. If we are getting attacked by a predator when there were saber-toothed tigers around, anxiety allows us to fight off a predator. It makes us really strong. It also is highly, highly involved with our motivational centers. So people who have anxiety, who have a little bit of worry, are actually really high achieving people. So we can tell our little ones that anxiety is like a superpower when there's a little bit of it. It makes you stronger, it makes you faster, it makes you want to be better. And for our older ones, we can tell them that it's the seed of compassion. It makes you want to be a better human being, to be a better athlete, to be a better student. And we don't want to get rid of it. What we don't want is for them to be camped in it all day long. It's meant to come and go like any emotion. And this is where we start with emotional literacy with our kids. We have to let them know that anxiety is like any other emotion. And what you can do is have them watch Inside Out. Inside Out 2 especially addresses anxiety, that every emotion has a purpose and they all have to live within us. And so I think sometimes when we name it anxiety, that is when our teens and tweens, it's been pathologized, right? Like, so it brings up a lot of shame for kids, like something is wrong with them. And what we need to teach them is that anxiety is part of everyone's day, that it is just something that we go through as parents. So we can have conversations with our kids about, let me tell you about something that made me anxious when I was a kid. Let me tell you about a time I was anxious about something that happened at work. And so we're modeling it and saying, like, this is kind of normal, that we all have this. We just have to teach your brain not to stay there all day long. And so what the next step is we need to talk about um, the brain in terms of what the amygdala is. So we're going to use what Dr. Dan Siegel and Dr. Payne Bryson call the brain in hand model, which is really simple for kids to understand. So we can put our arm up, and this is your spinal cord, and the palm of your hand here, this is your body brain. It controls your heart beating and your breathing and blinking and your immune system. It just controls what goes on, and we don't have to think about it. So this is your body brain. And then right here in the middle, this is your feelings brain. So really, this is your limbic system. This is your brain stem, but you can call this the body brain stem. This is your feelings brain, limbic system. And this little knuckle right here is something called the amygdala. And the amygdala is like the smoke detector of your brain. Its job is to keep you safe. And it's always kind of surveying the scene to say, could there be a fire? Because that's our brain's number one job, is to keep us safe. So that amygdala is always going to be listening and watching to say, is there a threat? Now, sometimes there's a real fire, and sometimes there's burnt toast. And what happens when this feelings brain decides that there might be a threat, even if it's making a mistake? What's going to happen is we have a third part of our brain. And if we can cover our fingers over top, this is our thinking brain. It's actually the neocortex, the cortical brain, but it's in charge of thinking and rational thoughts and keeping our emotions in check and making sure we don't make bad choices. Really, it's about, for parents, it's about impulse control, emotion regulation, executive functioning, planning ahead, thinking behind, empathy. And what happens is when this smoke detector goes off, even if it's just burnt toast and it's not a real fire, we flip our lid. And when we flip our lid, the Wi-Fi's down. So our feelings brain takes over and we want to protect ourselves. Our thinking brain kind of goes offline for a little bit. And that's why kids, we can tell them that's why sometimes you hide or you say things you don't mean. Your body takes over, so your stomach hurts and all the blood is running to your arms and legs and your muscles are tense because it's getting ready to do something really amazing to keep you safe. It gets you ready to go into something called fight, so you can fight off a predator, so it makes your body really strong. You get this chemical called adrenaline and cortisol, so it makes you strong and makes your body really fast. Or it tells you to go hide in case there's something bad or to run away. Like imagine there was an avalanche or a forest fire, you want to run away. And so that part of the brain takes over. And then we do things we don't think. Our rational brain, our thinking brain, we don't have those really the thoughts that say this isn't a big deal, I can handle this. Like those thoughts are kind of gone for now. So we talk about this flipping the lid. And so what we're trying to say is we have to teach your brain that this amygdala, the smoke detector, that it's a false alarm. It's not a real fire. So that's our job. But this is like a whole another piece, right? Kids need practice. We have other videos on this, like when your child's scared of doing new things. So I would highly suggest you watch that, of how we move children towards the things that they're scared of. But this video is really about like, what do we say in the moment when your child is really struggling with anxiety, right? But I think first we have to do that preparatory piece of like why the anxiety is there. Anxiety is normal. Watch some videos, read some books. We highly recommend Dr. Dawn Huebner. She is a great resource for books on anxiety to make things really easy for your child. Now, once you've maybe done, now we don't do this teaching part when your child's in the middle of a panic attack. Okay, this has to happen when they're calm and connected. Now let's fast forward to you're in the middle of anxiety and your child is like, I don't want to go to school, or they're worried about monsters under the bed, or they're worried you're going to die, or something bad's going to happen. Whatever that is, it tends to be at night or before some big exchange, something new, a transition's coming up. I want you to think about what your role is as a parent during that hard moment. Now, this requires you to think about your relationship with anxiety. When your child gets anxious, does your anxiety skyrocket? Now, it makes a lot of sense if your anxiety does increase because your child's in pain and so you want to help them. It's no fun as a parent when your child is struggling. Like, of course, you want to make it better. But the problem is for our children to relax, for the anxiety to go down, we have to be this calm pilot when there's turbulence flying the plane. And if the pilot comes on and his voice is rattly and he's saying, it's my first time flying in a storm and I just want to know how everyone's doing. And I'm not really sure how we're going to make it through this, but I want everyone to do up their seatbelt just in case. Like, you would be terrified as somebody who was in that plane, a passenger. But if that pilot comes on and their voice is calm and saying, okay, folks, we're going through some turbulence. I'm going to get you on the ground shortly. But if everyone could just take their seats, that would be great. Nothing to worry about. Like, we are going to feel much better as a passenger. So the question is, how are the words falling on their ears? Now, if we're really anxious when they're anxious, no matter how we phrase it, it's not going to land, because if our voice is shaky and our nervous system is hijacked, so we are slowly flipping our lid, our children's nervous system can't lean into ours. What is supposed to happen is this process called co-regulation, where when our nervous system is calm, the child's nervous system leans into our calm, they borrow our calm, and their lid comes back online. Because we are saying with our bodies and our words, like, you are safe. Kind of, I always tell my kids, look at my face. Do I look worried right now? Or do I look mad right now? And they'll say no. And I said, yeah, because we're good. And so kids need to feel that they're good from you. But I think sometimes we don't have a great relationship with anxiety, so our nervous system gets hijacked, probably because no one ever walked you through anxiety, or anxiety was really debilitating when you were young. So sometimes our role becomes protecting kids from anxiety, like it's going to hurt them like it hurt us. That's our narrative. Or we get demanding. We want them to be independent. So we're saying, you have to get over this. And we end up minimizing it. And this, yeah, like I said, it comes from like how your family handled that feeling. So, if you're someone who really struggles with anxiety, this is some work you're going to have to do separate from your child, because I need you to have that really calm nervous system when you sit down with your child when they're anxious. So, your child can really lean into that with you. That's going to be a big part. Now, the other part, and you don't have to tell kids about this, is you have a brain that has two hemispheres, a right and a left hemisphere. And when your child is in anxiety, they're in what's called the right hemisphere. And the right hemisphere is all about emotions and somatic feelings. So, meaning like bodily sensations. It doesn't speak in a lot of words, it speaks in descriptions and your calm presence, and sometimes naming feelings for some kids. So the feelings, like naming the feeling, but not lots of questions. The left likes to ask questions. The left likes to ask why, what's the big, and say what's wrong, why do you think that. The left is all about logic and analysis and problem solving. When your child's anxious, they need what's called a right brain connection. They need you to describe what's going on for them, acknowledge what's going on for them, get in close, open up your body, appear calm in your body. What parents sometimes do is they do a lot of they start problem solving, they start minimizing. There's nothing to worry about, don't be silly, what's the big problem, no one else is scared. So we're doing left, 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 left. We're actually sending the signal to the wrong part of the brain. So we want to send this really strong calm signal to the right hemisphere, because that's the part that is really activated, is this right hemisphere. And what's also activated is this feelings brain and this body brain. So it's kind of a simultaneous piece here. So we're sending messages to the nervous system and then the emotions, right? And same with the right hemisphere. That's exactly how the right hemisphere works. And our anxiety, if we're having any, is going to be contagious. So we're just remembering your role when you're talking to your child with anxiety is indicating that I understand that you have anxiety. It's to normalize it, to name it. And also, this is really important, to indicate that you believe they can handle it. Because what happens is we'll get so caught up in naming the feeling and acknowledging it, but we never let them know that there is a strength and there's bravery inside of them and there's competence inside of them. They need to hear that latter half of the message just as much as the first part of the message. But I think just take a deep breath and remember, the anxiety isn't rational. The fears don't seem logical. It's not. But the fear itself is real. They're experiencing it in that moment. So the monsters under the bed, not real. Fear is real. And if we deny their feelings, if we dismiss it, say it's not, get over it, this isn't a big deal, why are you scared? What's happening is they stop sharing with us entirely. And they feel like something's wrong with them. It brings up a lot of shame in them. So if we are calm in our bodies and we have a good relationship with anxiety, we've done some of that groundwork with our kids, then we're going to refrain from saying some of these things. There's nothing to worry about. Don't be silly. Why are you afraid of that? You're fine. Get over it. There is nothing to worry about. You just have to power through. You've got to learn how to handle things on your own. That's us demanding them to change because we are really uncomfortable. That's it. That's the main issue here. What we instead want to do is just make space for it, because the more space we make for the feeling, the less room it's going to take. So here are some phrases that I find really helpful with kids. Wow, that was really scary. You look a little frightened right now. You wish you could stay home with me. This is what our brains try to do to keep us safe. I believe you. That's a really important one. I believe you. It makes sense why you feel worried. Even adults feel that way sometimes. Yes, it's hard, but I know you have the strength in you to get through this. I can see you feel worried, and it is okay to feel that way. We are going to figure this out together. So those are some things to say, and you can check out our other videos of like what to do next. But what's most important here is our words are non-judgmental. We're normalizing the feeling, and we've done a little bit of that groundwork with our own relationship with anxiety. And we've done a little bit of psychoeducation on like the brain and why we have anxiety. And it's a good thing and it protects us and it can motivate us. So hopefully this is helpful. Please subscribe to our channel if you find this is helpful and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you.